Hi everybody, this is Neil Allen, the comic creator behind the series Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, which you could find out more about on zatswan.com. And I want to briefly say something about that. Now, there was a period where you could read my comic book on my website in totality. However, I've just left up the first chapter as a sample chapter because I'm going to be releasing it for sale on Amazon very, very soon. And, having it up for free would kind of undermine, you know, sales of the comic on Amazon. So I've taken the whole comic down for the time being on my site, but you can still check out a sampler over there. But let's get right into the topic. So the topic of today involves the Green Lantern character John Stewart from DC Comics and Shiera Hull Hawkgirl or Hawkwoman from DC Comics as well. So I was browsing CBR and I made a post there was a topic this was being discussed over at CBR. I made a post there, but I'm banned from CBR, which I don't mind saying. CBR bans everybody. If you're not a sycophant to some of the creators, like there are some DC Comics and Marvel Comics creators that post there, and if you don't suck up to them, then they got a problem with you, which is their right. I'm not going to complain about that, but whatever. Um, so I posted over there. The post was quickly removed because my ban happened long before today. Because there was something that I wanted to say. So I guess I'll just use this platform to say it, and whoever will see it will see it. So it turns out that DC Comics is, after 20 something years, finally incorporating the romance of Green Lantern and Hawkgirl into their comics, or so it seems. So there's this new Green Lantern Corps series where they're finally putting in John Stewart and Shiera Hull Hawkgirl, not another version of Hawkgirl, because they've done that. They've flirted with that stupidity before, like the Kendra version of Hawkgirl. They'll kind of have with John Stewart at times. A little bit. I mean, they never go full throttle with this stuff, but they flirted with the idea slightly. But now it's looking like they've got the correct version of Hawkgirl. She's appearing in a Green Lantern Corps comic. It looks like her and John, they're going to be seriously interacting. So basically, all the stage is set to continue with this romance finally in the comics. Now the comical thing is that was what I said before, that this is happening 20 something years after Justice League Unlimited went off the air. Justice League Unlimited is the cartoon series that popularized this romance, and unsurprisingly, you have Hal Jordan fans in the topic. Now this is very predictable. um of course we don't want to see that, you know what I mean? And the thing is, I don't want to call people out. People are gonna act like, oh, you're making this a Hal Jordan fan versus John Stewart fan thing again, which is so 2016 or something like that. It's crazy, going on 10 years now. That's not the point, but I think this is a notice kind of to DC Comics, should they ever see it, or it's just kind of, and it's to get this idea out there. And I don't know if the idea is going to be revolutionary or anything, but this is what I'm going to say. So, my main point is that it's okay to put their opinions out there, but I really don't think that if DC is serious about really investing in John Stewart, just what I mean by that is for long term. I know he's going to be on this show coming up, Lanterns, and he's going to be a part of their cinematic universe. So if they are really serious about investing in this character, then it is not a good idea for John Stewart to be doing what Hal Jordan fans want him to do versus what John Stewart fans want him to do. So I found it pretty interesting that you got a bunch of Hal Jordan fans, not a bunch because a bunch of people don't post on CBR anymore, but there were some. I don't want to over exaggerate things. I know it can seem like when you're dealing with people on the internet, there are more of them than it actually seems. But there weren't that many. But they were there, and I think this point stands nonetheless. They were predictably saying that, oh, we don't want to see this for all the predictable reasons. Um, but, and, I saw some comments too, like, oh my God, like, does Blackfire, the Teen Titans villain, like have a thing for John Stewart too? And does like Hawkgirl have a thing for John Stewart too? Like, why is this? Well, the thing, it's like, but they would have no problem with Hal Jordan cleaning up with all these females and stuff. But if John Stewart does it, it's kind of like, like this is kind of, I think the sentiment is that this is like contrived writing or something like that. I just want to point that out, and that's the thing too. Like, I think the main point is you should not, DC Comics, you should not be writing John Stewart for Hal Jordan fans. Like, John Stewart should not necessarily per se be doing what Hal Jordan fans want him to do versus what John Stewart fans want him to do. Um, that's the main thing. I think you have to kind of realize that some things are for some people, other things are for other people, and sometimes like this one particular thing can't please everybody. When it comes to Hal Jordan and John Stewart, when it comes to Green Lantern in general, you're gonna have a hard time pleasing everybody. That's one of the big problems with that fan base. It's been fractured so much. So, what I'm getting at, like, you shouldn't, if you have John Stewart's like best interests and you really want to in mind and you really want to invest in him, you should not be taking the opinions of people who were completely okay and comfortable with him not doing anything for years, and probably in some instances of them coming up with excuses for why it was okay for him to be not doing anything for years or stuff to downplay it. We're talking about these Jeff Johns fans and stuff like that, and I'm not going to poo-poo on that. I think it's okay if people like that, that's their prerogative, and it doesn't really matter to me too much, but you shouldn't be listening to those people per se if you want to do what's best for John Stewart. Now, there's another thing that I want to point out. Like, John Stewart fans, I don't want to act like I speak for all of them because I don't. And they don't see eye to eye on everything, right? Like, there are disagreements about what's best for John Stewart or what that looks like or how you get there just because of personal preference, which is okay. But what I can say about those people, or this collective of people, even though they disagree on things, I think they all have what they feel is John Stewart's best interests in mind as a fictional character. Now, what that is and what that looks like, I think they probably disagree here and there. For example, some people would probably rather see John Stewart Vixen rather than Hawkgirl because they think that's just what they like and, what they think would be best. And that's fair. However, there's a difference, even though not all John fans see eye to eye, I think that they do have his best interest in mind for what they think that looks like. Some of these other people, though, they just don't. And these are the people that you should not be listening to. And I'm not saying that in every instance they're necessarily out to get the character, although in some cases they are, some of these people. But they're not thinking about what's best for him. They are thinking what is best for them. By them, I mean them, the reader. They're thinking about what they want to see. And John Stewart's interests is somehow secondary, tertiary, or whatever else to that. So what's best for a lot of these people, again, if they were completely comfortable with the character being sidelined during the Jeff Johns era and whatever other era, because it really wasn't just that one, if they were like completely comfortable with that and like these are great, like this is what we want to see, you shouldn't be taking their opinions for what, you should be doing with John Stewart. John Stewart should be doing what John Stewart fans want him to do, not necessarily per se what Hal Jordan fans want him to do. Because in many instances, those are going to be two different things. Um, Again, if they're comfortable with John, because for a lot of these people, honestly, what would they like to see John Stewart doing? What he was doing like during in the 2000s when he's like completely in the comics, that is, when he's like completely sidelined, doesn't matter, doesn't do anything, off panel, asexual, the whole 9 yards. Anything that keeps them in this perpetual state where they can say, oh, he's boring, or oh, he doesn't matter. I think for a segment of readers of Green Lantern comics, that's what they're comfortable with in regards to John Stewart. They don't want to see this kind of like, you know, take charge, lots of agency as a character, man of action, desirable love interests, focus on him. No, because they want that to be like Hal Jordan. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. That's just personal preference. Some characters work for some people, some characters connect with other people. Like, we all know that. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that, I mean, speaking personally for myself, I don't think I would be up in a Hal Jordan thread saying what I think I would want Hal Jordan to do or what I would want to see with him or the problems I have with this love interest, just because there seems, just because, I mean, I don't, I just wouldn't do it, because ultimately what I'm saying is, like, I think at this stage in the game, like, I kind of realized that I'm not the person they're writing that character for. So it's like, my opinion on it, like, I may have an opinion, but even I would probably tell you that for the sake of his fans and stuff, my opinion is probably not, like, it probably really shouldn't be regarded that much, because I doubt, like, the things that I guess I'll tell you. Like, I thought his Parallax, like, I thought Parallax was a really awesome villain, with a really cool design. Now, if I come in here saying that, which is what I would say, these people are they're going to poo-poo on that opinion, like, like, that never should have happened, this, that, and that. Completely fair, and ultimately, like, what they want to see from Hal Jordan is not, I have no interest in seeing that. Um, and it's the same with them. So it's like, and I think the difference is that I have self-awareness about that, and I would just leave that alone for the most part, you know what I mean? Um, and I think that's the main point for DC. Like, you gotta realize that I don't think, for all kinds of reasons, like, you can kind of bridge a gap. Like, say there are John Stewart fans here, Hal Jordan fans here. You can take, say, the John Stewart character and bring all of them together. I don't think you can do that. Or at least, I don't think you should twist yourself up in a pretzel attempting that. Now, what I think my point is, if you're going to work with the John Stewart character, first and foremost, you should do what his fans want to see, which, again, not all John Stewart fans see eye to eye, but a lot of his fans came from the popular Justice League cartoon series. A lot of them, appreciate his relationship with Hawkgirl. Why it's been completely off the table the last 20 something years in these comics is baffling to me, but DC's an odd company. A corporate like these big corporate superhero comics, those are really weird. Honestly, I haven't been a fan of those in a long time, and I'm really still not. This development has actually perked my interest. This development with Hawkgirl and John Stewart Green Lantern. It's at least got me to like turn over and look at it a bit, but will I like really seriously follow it? I don't know. I mean, but I think it's good they did that. Whether that would make me a big fan of DC Comics again, like, because it's 20 years like late, you know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's really interesting how, you see something like this and people come up with all the reasons in the world. See, what I'm thinking of now is like, I know it doesn't entirely, but you gotta go here and you gotta not be afraid of going here. Uh, I think there's something unique about this because I think this is a thing that like black characters face, but they do so it's not an upfront way. And I know I'm being kind of obscure with what I'm saying, but this idea when they actually start getting ahead and the fans want to see what they want to see from them, it starts happening. It seems like oftentimes there's a contingent of people who want to put forward any and every reason on why this is bad or why this shouldn't happen. But I do think it's especially sensitive with black characters, and I'll get into more of the reason why. But to be completely fair, this is a thing that I think happens with kind of all characters in comics. No matter what you do, there are going to be people who are like, no, that's the wrong way to go. But let me go back to the black character thing. I think it's because like so few black characters actually get ahead, in this corporate comic book hero sphere. It's very, very rare for them to do that. And typically, what's necessary sometimes for them to get ahead is to cross a line with some other people, unfortunate fans, that is, unfortunately. Um, and they'll always come in and whatever it's going to take to get this character to succeed, there's always going to be a contingent of people who come in and poo-poo the idea, say why it's a bad idea or why it wouldn't work or something to discourage that. And I think it's like especially sensitive with the black characters because so few of them do kind of get ahead in this area, and they always kind of be the companies oftentimes seem to be like averse to doing what it would take to really get them to succeed. It seems like the companies kind of hold the similar mindset to some of these fans, like this wouldn't work because of that. This wouldn't work because of that. What if this? You can like what if things till the cows come home. You could always come up with reasons not to do something. But if you want a different result, like you are actually serious about getting your black character to work, then you just have to kind of tune that out and just make stuff. And it's not gonna, you got, I guess one of the big takeaways here too is you're not gonna please everybody with this stuff. There are gonna be people who just, this is not what they want to see. And in comics, there are gonna be, because you've built up this history where these like black characters don't do anything, where they haven't had the opportunity to build these generations of fans like these white heroes have for all kinds of reasons. And we're not going to get into like bemoaning that. It's just a reality. It has to do with just society and the history of society and all that. Like there's no point pointing fingers on who specifically is to blame for that, but it is just the reality we live in. That's still kind of going on. You're going to get the naysayers like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And especially when you're making moves in like something that has an established following like Green Lantern, where you've built up an audience, that a large percentage of that audience that's not gonna want to see that stuff. A lot of them are not gonna want to see what would actually um, some of the things that it would take for John Stewart to get ahead. They're not gonna want to see that. They're gonna want to see something else. So that's especially difficult. That's one of the reasons why I do Zat Swan comics, because you know, one, I can do whatever I want. Two, it doesn't have the. It's kind of what it is, like in the sense that this is what Zat Swan is. This is what Zat Swan represents. This is what you can expect from Zat Swan. If that connects with you, then great. And for whoever that doesn't connect with, you could just like peace out right at the first page if it's not for you. With Green Lantern, you have a lot of readers that have this expectation of what they think it should be, and you're gonna get pushback if you start going against that long established expectation of what they think it should be. So that's kind of the sticky situation they're in. But what I will say, if you're going to use John Stewart, you can't think about like not rocking that boat, because he's going to perpetually stay this boring character who doesn't get anywhere. If you leave him like that, like the reason he actually got popular is because the people working on the Justice League cartoon, Dwayne McDuffie and Bruce Timm and all those other people, Stan Berkowitz, they weren't thinking about that. They were just going in confidently doing their thing. People gonna bemoan it, they can bemoan it, but that wasn't gonna stop them from confidently saying, this is the course I'm taking. You could get on board with it, or you could bemoan it, and that's just what they did. That's the type of attitude you're gonna have to take if you actually want the character, these like black characters to work well. um, you know, and by the way, I'm not saying that like white characters should be poo-pooed or replaced, like all this like diversity thing, that this like push, this kind of disingenuous push of diversity that these comic companies have done. I'm not necessarily for that, but what I am saying is that if you're gonna do these characters, you have to do things that will appeal to the fans of these characters, not that will appeal to like people who are never going to be into them anyway. I guess that's kind of a short a short version of saying what I'd like to say. But anyway, if you have any thoughts about this issue, like the general topic, or specifically talking about Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and make sure to check out my own comic at zatswan.com, and I will be talking to all of you again very soon. Take care.